Welcome to the Redeemed Vision podcast, where we bring sight to the blind and freedom to those enslaved by our pornified culture. Here, we dive into hard but important topics such as pornography, sexual identity, true freedom, real love, and living marriage well. Go deep with us as we uncover what redeemed vision means for each of us living in the world today. Come to know yourself, the power of redemption through Jesus Christ, the joy of laughter, and how to live in gratitude and wonder. This is Redeemed Vision.
Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Redeem Vision podcast. I am your host, Christopher Chen. I'm one of the coaches here at Freedom Coaching. This is an outreach of Freedom Coaching Foundation Incorporated and Freedom Coaching, where we are a one-to-one mentoring system designed to break the attraction to pornography and unchaste behavior in both men and women through a transformation of mind, heart, and vision. Don't just quit, be transformed. Break the power of porn. I encourage you to check out our website at freedom-coaching.net. It was recently revised thanks to our webmaster, our designer, Joe Montfort, for doing such an excellent job doing a revamp of the website. I encourage you to check it out, browse through the different pages, and let us know what you think of the website. We'd love to hear from you if you have any comments on how we can do better. Some of our sponsors are doing a little bit of housekeeping here. We have Voyage Comics, where Christian media typically offers subpar products that don't appeal to a wide audience. Voyage Comics provide amazing stories rooted firmly in the Catholic faith that anyone can pick up and enjoy. Click on the link on our show notes to discover a world of awesome stories and support the mission of the Redeem Vision podcast. One other housekeeping here is we have a My Catholic Will, where we provide a legacy of faith for those you love most. And through a partnership with My Catholic Will, you can write your will free in as little as 15 minutes. Go to the show notes, go to mycatholicwill.com/freedom coaching. And Freedom Coaching Foundation. Well, if God has put on your heart to support this important mission, please support us financially. Your gift helps support those clients in need of scholarships as well as to spread the mission, spread this critical message of genuine freedom to the world. We appreciate all the support that we received over the years. And thank you very much for being here today on this episode, a special episode of Redeem Vision podcast. And normally the host is the founder, Steve McGivney. He's been given the proverbial night off, so to speak. And I'm here to share something pretty special that happened last week. It's one where I actually take great pride in sharing that. Last week on March 12th, 2020 was actually when I started Freedom Coaching, and marks the 5-year anniversary this past week on March 12th, 2025. I have much to be grateful for. I thank my wife, Alana, who are also approaching our 5-year wedding anniversary, and of course my mother, who has supported me through thick and thin. I must say that she was probably a little bit confused as to the work that I was starting 5 years ago, but certainly she's become a big advocate of the work that I do, realizing how important it is. And whenever friends ask, "Oh, what does your son do for a living?" Yeah, it becomes a pretty long and drawn out conversation, which he's actually proud to share. So I have nothing but love to my mother and also to my wife for their undying support. And really, it'd be fitting, and I would be remiss to not include, first and foremost, thank Steve McGivney, the founder of Freedom Coaching, for taking a chance on me. We had this divine encounter that happened, that I'll share later on, that made this all possible. I was basically his first coach, and 5 years later, we're slugging away at this together, working through things thick and thin. We're talking on a regular basis, and really can't thank him enough for the trust that he has shown, the mentorship, the advice, the brotherhood, the friendship, you name it. He has been there. He just look at anyone in the family. We're not going to agree on everything, and this is where the power of that brotherhood really comes into play, where we're able to be very open with each other, we share with one another, we love each other, we forgive each other, and then we move on and we continue to serve in this mission together because we know just how much of a need there is to help individuals, not necessarily with just pornography and masturbation, but just the level of intimacy, the loneliness, the lack of community that a lot of these men and women that they may be suffering in this world. And we're here to be a coach to journey alongside these clients, and I'm absolutely thrilled and honored. I look forward to what the next 5 years lies ahead. And of course, how can I stop the gratitude without also listing out all the coaches, the support staff, the former coach and staff that have served these past 5 years. I'll list them out. There's hopefully not too many at this moment, but we are growing. Chris Ricketts, Steve Motel. I have to say the last names because we have two Chris's and two Steves on our team. Saul, we have Leo, Danilo, Carlos, Jared, Andrew, Patrick, and our two female coaches, Claudia and Zofia. So thank you for also being part of this journey, doing this together, serving the masses where there is certainly a great need to help those individuals who are stuck, who have this, we call it addiction, we call it a compulsion here at Freedom Coaching with pornography. And also the three staff members, of course, the aforementioned Joe Montford, who has redesigned our lovely webpage. Check it out at freedom-coaching.net. Jason, our payroll coordinator, and Monica, who does some of the outreach and newsletter as well. Thank you all for being there, for supporting the coaches and this mission. Your work has not gone unnoticed. And some people who have served before and have since left and pursued other things. Thank to former coach Leah and to Karina, who was our payroll coordinator before, who is now serving on the board. So prayers will always go out to all of you who I've just mentioned, and I really wish all of you the best going forward. Currently, I'm working on a few projects outside of the work that I do in Freedom Coaching. I have a pretty full slate, having been here for 5 years, probably not a surprise. I'm training 4 new coaches while continuing to do in-person and online outreach to dioceses, priests, seminaries, and just generally people I come across. And one of the great things about doing outreach is certainly meeting these priests, giving out the cards, giving out the book, Redeemed Vision, saying they're blind free from the pornified culture, and brochures, and provide any additional support that they may need. As we've come across parishes throughout, at least from my experience in Canada and United States, where they really don't have an answer in the confessional other than to pray, to meditate on the scripture reading, maybe put on covenant eyes, talk to someone. At the end, we really are here to serve the church, the priest, and the parish community. We make no bones about it that we are an authentically Catholic mission. You can call it ministry if you want, but we are definitely work with everyone who are not necessarily Catholics. I certainly would work with other Christians from other denominations, and I've worked with a few atheists myself. So we're open for everyone. As they say in theology of the body, if you have a body, then obviously this is for you. As quite a bit of our work really stems from the work from St. John Paul the Great, theology of the body, though we have other components as well throughout the process in Freedom Coaching. And I'm here every time I have working with a client. I'm holding this custom chainmail rosary. I had a rosary when I joined the Knights of Columbus, and unfortunately it was a bit fragile, it's a bit thin, so I thought that if I'm going to go into spiritual warfare and go into battle with the clients, with the work that I do with the other coaches, that I might as well have something that's a lot sturdier. So I always carry this around. I hold this with me. I bring this to adoration. I hold this during client meetings. This particular rosary has been very special to me. It was actually connected by Steve Pocorni, who had someone out in Pennsylvania to get this done. And I had this blessed by 5 bishops in British Columbia. So it's definitely a very, very special rosary here, and I always carry it with me, always. And as I mentioned, I really, really need to thank the Knights of Columbus as well, as without the opportunity to serve with them, there would be no opportunity for Freedom Coaching. Since then, these past 5 years, I have joined Toastmasters. anyone knows what that organization is, it really helps individuals with their communication and leadership skills. I have my they call the DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster designation. I guess it's the highest designation you could receive as a Toastmaster. Heck, doesn't really mean a whole lot. If you ask me, especially sitting in front of you doing a podcast, I have much to learn as a podcaster. I won't say that I am one that's very versed or experienced. I probably more used to being behind the scenes, but I think after many years of discerning, I've kind of put this off, and I realized, oh, it's really tiring to get in front of the camera and to share my experiences, not only as a freedom coach, share my journey as a knight, share my journey just as a Catholic man. And last year, I had the honor and I was accepted into the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem out in the Vancouver-Lieutenancy. So I'm just a new knight of the Holy Sepulchre. And currently, it's just learning the ropes, so what the order does. So we certainly support a lot of the work out in the Holy Lands, and I'm learning a lot with the councils, the council members, and meeting members all across the world who are also members of Knights of Columbus, who have also shared their journey of why it's important to support the Holy Land. And hopefully, sooner rather than later, I will make the trek out to take this pilgrimage out in the Holy Lands. Hopefully, when things are died down from the war. And these past 5 years, I've served with, worked with almost 100 clients. Not quite there. I think I'm a little bit shy from that, but I work with clients from all over Canada, United States, UAE, Australia. Let's see where else. New Zealand, Poland, Singapore. I'm probably missing out on a few countries, so forgive me if you're a client that I'm working with that you're not listed on there. You're still very much in my prayers, and thank you for the opportunity to work with you on this journey to help you with freedom. And with my work here as well, I've done a lot of outreach, as I mentioned. I continue to do a lot of outreach in person and online. I recently came back from a trip out in New York where I always try to tackle and visit the cathedrals, the basilicas, the shrines. I tend to remember those more so, though, of course, if the opportunity arises for me to go to a parish, I will certainly make the effort to also do outreach there where I meet the priest before and after Mass, introduce myself. Basically, it's your chance to give your 30-second elevator pitch. You give them the cards for the confessional, you give them the Redeemed Vision book and some brochures where they can receive more information. So I've done that throughout the province of British Columbia, Alberta, and Ontario. So I have a lot of other provinces to hit up. And certainly I have my fair share of outreach out into the United States, all the way in the West Coast, Midwest, and probably where the bulk of my work has been through travel opportunities with Knights of Columbus. I've done a lot of the outreach out in the East Coast of the United States, all the Maine, all the way down to the state of Florida. So there's always going to be much work to be done when it comes to outreach here. So how did I get started in freedom coaching? As I mentioned, it was a divine encounter with Steve McGivney. This happened 6 years ago, just not quite six, about the fall of 2019. I was laid off from my work. I kind of think, when I think back on it, I kind of saw it coming. Well, I wouldn't say that I was like not happy. I was doing like a terrible job per se, but I knew my heart wasn't quite in it. And I knew that the tug that the Catholic mission and the ministry that I was serving in, I was very much heavy with the Knights of Columbus at that stage where I was, I think, a year two as a Grand Knight. I was serving either as an executive assistant at that time or taking on as like the charity appeal chairman. We're basically helping with fundraisers for the foundation. And I really wanted to have a career where I can work full time in the Catholic ministry, but also wanted to work remotely, as I was basically commuting for a better part of 15 years of my life to and from work. I'm sure we all know what that's like. We can probably think that we're probably spending probably hours at a time during the week in terms of our commute. And when we go to work in the mornings, we're pretty tired. When we go home, especially after work, we're definitely very tired. So I knew I didn't want to have the commute. And so in In God's words, he heard my cry, he heard my prayers, and he says, say less. And here I am today, where initially Steve sent me a message on Instagram. He was asking me if I'd be willing to promote his ministry through with bishops that I knew. And I knew a few at the time, some local bishops. I'd be more than happy to promote freedom coaching to those that I know. And I guess the curiosity struck me, where I was wondering, I wonder what it'd be like to be a coach. I wonder if he had any other coaches. And sure enough, I guess we met at the right time, where he was definitely looking for help, looking for someone to do this together, as he's been at this a long time on his own as a coach. And so one thing led to another. I was getting trained by him through the various stages. I was being challenged on my Catholic faith, that I needed to really get serious. Not that I wasn't, but I really need to double down on the sacraments, on adoration, the daily prayer life, receiving the sacraments of confession, especially, and obviously the sacrament of Holy Communion. So that during that time, I had to get certified as a life coach as one of the requirements, and I was finishing up the exam. I pressed submit, and I passed. And that was precisely on March 12th, 2020. If I recall correctly, I think that was on a Thursday, and then hours later, we kind of knew this would be a possibility. We checked on the news, probably online at the time, that as we know, the world shut down. And I remember those days, lockdowns and restrictions, and we weren't able to go to mass in person for many, many months. It was definitely a struggle. I didn't realize what a big impact that would have. And I knew at that day, not really knowing the porn industry, so to speak, in terms of just how large it is and how much of effect it has on the human brain and the human heart, that I knew at that point that God was preparing me to go to war, knowing full well how a shutdown will likely have a pretty big spike in porn consumption, for many of us who are locked down. I realized that, wow, this is actually very serious. I probably couldn't think of a probably more significant day in my life at that time, where I realized that, wow, this is really a major sign that something really big is about to happen. Something that the lives that we knew at the time was definitely going to change profoundly. I think we're still kind of reeling from those changes from 5 years ago. Certainly, where things have opened up a lot more now, but I'm sure some industries are still reeling from that. I know it was a huge spike in remote work. For myself, this is kind of what I do. There's really no other way to do this, though I know some coaches have mentioned that they shared that they have met their clients in person. I don't think that's possible, even if there are some clients that are here locally, here where I am in Vancouver, Canada. So what are some of the experiences I've had as a coach in the past 5 years? I'm not sure if I would feel the same if I just started out. Maybe not the same if I'm like 1 year, 2 year, but I would say 5 years is a pretty good period of time where I'm actually can say that, wow, I've seen quite a bit. I'm sure will never say that I've seen a lot in my life, but with the clients that I've worked with, I've worked for almost 100 clients. I've seen a great deal of transformation. And it's probably the first major impact and a noticeable experience that I've had as a freedom coach. I've worked with clients who are single, who are dating, who are engaged, who are married, divorced, they had children during the process. I've even had clients where they started with me being single, and they go all the way from single, dating, engaged, marriage, and then they have children throughout this process, all within a span of maybe like a year and a bit. And it's just really incredible how God works through others. And I'm just so happy to at least be a small part of that journey. And I really continue to keep those clients in prayer, and thank you for allowing me to be part of that journey with those clients. I have clients who have switched jobs. I have clients who have moved countries. I have clients who have made all sorts of various discernments, not necessarily with marriage, but with different aspects of their life, joining a men's group, joining different organizations, volunteer work. and I've seen such great transformation when they finally make that jump. And probably the more common client that I would work with are those who struggle with dating, those who are single. I've been blessed to have a bit of confidence, a bit of experience, albeit nothing professionally, but I just have this interest of being like a relationship coach. That's not what we do necessarily in freedom coaching, but there's obviously going to be some crossover, just like some of our coaches who have experience uh, working as a marriage counselor. Shout out to Steve Motel. If you want any help, you can go reach him out here. So I can see these clients who are single, they're shooting their shot, and how these clients are with their current girlfriends, discerning marriage. Even I remember a client who even taught me what a betrothal ceremony was. I didn't even know what that was until I met this client. So there's a lot that clients can teach us as coaches too. A lot of their interests. A client who recently finished third in a tournament. It was a game called, I think it was Settlers of Catan. Again, never heard of that. Again, whatever floats their boat, it really matters to them. We will meet them as coaches where they are, because I realize that things like that could really be a boost and be a big shot up to their confidence, and will obviously bleed into other parts of their life as well. What another major transformation story. I wouldn't say this is my favorite one per se. I think all transformation stories are through God's grace, but I think this one really showed me what the possibilities of God's grace and His mercy was like. When this client started out where his wife filed for divorce, and we started our first session. It was a long slug. We didn't know what was going to happen, and during that 1 year process, they finalized their divorce. They both got their previous marriage annulled, as this was their second marriage. My client has since been very diligent with the work. He's been free, and once he found out that his ex-wife had her marriage annulled, he prepared a special surprise, and he went down on his one knee and proposed to his ex-wife again. And then in the process of preparing for sacrament of holy matrimony, done the right way. And I know that if this client was listening right now, he would agree that even at his age, that he's basically starting a new life again. So it doesn't matter when we start. We could be 10 years old, we could be 60, we could be 70 or 80. It's never too late to start. It's certainly never too late to start living a chaste life, and a life of real healthy and genuine intimacy that's rooted in God's will that He has planned for us from the beginning. So those are some of the transformation stories. I can share a lot. I could probably go through probably a whole hour, if not more, about these transformation stories, but those are some of the ones that really stick out during these past 5 years. Another opportunity, another thing that I've noticed, serving the past 5 years as freedom coach, is the countless opportunities to grow in my Catholic faith. As I mentioned, a client introduced me to what a betrothal ceremony was. I've now since done some research, and I've even encouraged that with some of the clients who are thinking about getting engaged, and they've done it themselves, which is absolutely a great blessing. So sometimes what a client can share with me, I can actually use and help others as well. That's definitely integrated the, albeit very difficult, habit of going to a weekly confession, weekly Eucharistic adoration, and trying to incorporate more of a daily holy hour, more prayer life, more reading scriptures. This helps me live out the theology of the body and redeem vision on a daily basis. I've always been very blessed. Excuse me. I'm going to have a sip of water. Yes, in freedom coaching, we have our own mugs. We have a shirt. I guess that's the blessing that I get. Working for these past 5 years, we always use, different things to try to brand ourselves, to do some promotion. At least it's probably better that I go to daily mass wearing something that's branded with the mission when I'm promoting it. Probably better than wearing a Miami Heat jersey or a Vancouver Canucks t-shirt in the summertime. So I probably should be wearing that anyways out in mass. But when it's hot, when you're traveling, sometimes you have to make concessions. Even I can certainly do better than that when I'm traveling. So we have our own shirts now. I have a hoodie, I have a t-shirt, I have several t-shirts for freedom coaching, I have a hat. So this gives me an opportunity to do some mission work as well when I go visit out these parishes to meet priests. And speaking of just living out the theology of the body and going to redeem vision in a minute here, a our ministry is certainly authentically Catholic, and we pride ourselves on using the teachings of theology of the body from St. John Paul II. You can say that if we have a body, this is for you. We can all certainly learn from it. And for those who are kind of skeptical of theology of the body, I've heard this say, I can't remember if it was on a podcast or through just general conversations from someone saying that, oh, theology of the body, they just keep talking about sex all the time. And in actuality, we're not just talking about sex in that sense where we know it from the pornified culture, but how about the sex of being a male or female, being unique and unrepeatable? These are the undeniable messages from the beginning, beginning of time out in the book of Genesis. We realize that this is what our identity was made in the beginning. And theology body also teaches us how to see. This is where I can say that I'm now living a redeemed vision. There's a redeemed vision that is basically crafted from God's vision, which is a divine vision, where he sees that everything in his mind, everything was good. We heard Dr. Christopher West from Theology of the Body Institute saying that the devil doesn't have his own clay, meaning that he cannot create something. He can only twist and manipulate the God's creation that is all created with a sense of beauty in mind. And probably the last thing I like to share in my journey as a freedom coach in the past 5 years is probably the thing that I never would have expected was there's never a dull moment when I introduce myself as freedom coaching. When you go meet people the first time, hey, how are you? They say, what do you do for a living? Or what do you do for work? And they said, I'm a lawyer, I'm an accountant, I work in engineering. So the more common answers are I'm a teacher. And I say that I'm a Catholic life coach. I work as freedom coaching. I help individuals with compulsion and pornography. And that sparks a very interesting and lively conversation with others. They're very curious to talk about it. And I'm sure when I talk about that particular subject with others, they probably think that I probably know someone, or maybe myself has been guilty of looking at pornography at some time in my life. I never hide the fact that it's authentically Catholic mission, though we will work with anyone from every race, every ethnicity, denomination. It doesn't matter. As I said, from the works of theology of the body, if you have a body, this is for you. So those are kind of the three takeaways, the three major highlights. Working to seeing a lot of transformation, countless opportunities to grow in my Catholic faith, and there's never a dull moment, especially when I introduce myself and the work that I do. So I want to end off this episode on sharing kind of a final takeaway. If you're listening here on the Redeem Vision podcast, if you know what we do at Freedom Coaching, if they're my current or former clients or clients of other coaches, if you're here and you have certainly even a small smidge, or those who are struggling mightily, what's the one advice I can give to those who are struggling with pornography? You probably heard many answers, tons of coping mechanisms out there. You have to pray it away, instill covenant eyes, have accountability partner, seek counseling and therapy, and those all help for sure. I'm never going to deny that. And if those aspects help, then by all means, please continue to do those things. Praying the rosary, receiving the sacraments, frequenting the sacraments. But I would say, from my perspective, I guess you can say it's my professional opinion, I invite you to change the way that you see others. The way that you see your body and the body of others, and probably more importantly, the way that you see yourself. Challenging this vision, this vision using the two eyes that I've had all my life, was the game changer for me for not only living a more Christ-centered life, but a more fruitful and fulfilled one where I can serve in a meaningful way. And as I'm talking about this, it's been, again, long overdue, like myself being on this podcast here, where on a future episode, probably sooner than later, I'll share that exact journey of what it was like for me to now have a redeemed vision. And certainly there was a lot that went to it throughout my entire life. And it was only about 3 years ago when I realized that the dream of having new eyes and redeemed vision, seeing the way that God sees the world, that everything is true, good, and beautiful. I really can't thank God enough, and I realized that three years ago was certainly the big life-changing moment for me, and without that, I probably wouldn't be here today. So I'll keep that as a little bit of a cliffhanger, a bit of a leave you in the suspense here. Probably the next couple of weeks, I'll release another episode where I'll share that exact journey of what it's like to have a redeemed vision. Hence why I say my opinion would be I challenge all of you to see others, to see the body of others and yourself, see it differently than what you currently have. As I know that for myself, my personal testimonial, that has definitely been the game changer, and I really don't hide that fact of how much that has changed me. And everyone has their own journey, everyone has their own testimonial, and I really look forward to hearing from some of you in the future, through either in person, online, as clients, through passing. I really, really want to thank the coaches, the clients, and all those who have been part of this very blessed and humbling journey as a Catholic life coach and freedom coaching. And certainly really thank God for the grace that and mercy He has shown me for being this unworthy servant, only in freedom coaching and Knights of Columbus, and also at Night of the Holy Sepulchre. So may glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and the Holy Spirit, as well as beginning, as now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Till then, God bless.
The Redeemed Vision podcast is an outreach of freedom coaching. To learn more, check out freedom-coaching.net and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and MeWe.